Hey guys, how you doing? It's Henry at Mowers and Blowers. Good morning. As you guys know from my previous couple of weeks or so, we've taken about 10 or 11 episodes to put this thing together, and this thing just looks fantastic, runs perfect. I have it listed for $875. I got a silly offer from somebody for $650. I even considered raising it to $1,000. You know what I mean? I get a lot of subscribers who tell me, hey, you should list it for $950 or $900 or, you know, something like that, you know. Honestly, there are worse tractors than this out there for $1,000, you know what I mean? So maybe I will list it for $1,000 come next spring. You know, I'm not in any crazy hurry. There's absolutely nothing wrong with this machine, you know, runs great. So I have been busy on this one, you know what I mean? So since I've taken care of this one, and I've taken a few days to get a new battery in here, check the air filter, it was fine, so I left the old one. Did the brakes and rotors for the rear. By the way, I only recorded the left side of it on the video. The next day I did the right side. It only took me 35 minutes to do it. It was amazing. It's amazing how much faster you can do brakes once you've been acclimated on how to do it the first time. And you didn't have to video it, you know? But, so now that I've taken care of the Toro project, I got my car in order, I've got to get my son's Acura Legend inspected and oil change, as well as my van inspected and oil change. Both inspections are up, so that's coming up. I'm just going to take it to my local shop and have them work on it and do whatever. Shouldn't be too expensive or time consuming. But I'm gonna start my next project now. It's gonna be this one. This is my LT1000 that I got for free. That's right, free, from my friend Brian from Huntington. Doesn't have a deck. Well, remember, I got two decks from Nick from Bellport, along with another LT1000 that's on the other side of the house. But I figured this one already has a battery in it. I have the deck in my garage, and I've got a Kohler Courage 20 that I got from Nick from Bellport also. They're all in the garage, so I'm just gonna roll this into the garage, mount the Kohler engine on it, figure out what's wrong with it, right? Charge up the battery, put the deck on. Could be easy. Now that I'm making room for the other tractor, I'm gonna try to bring the Toro back here.
Look at this, look at this, look who came to visit.
How you guys doing?
Long time no see.
It's Mike from Mike's Lawn Service Babylon and his friend.
Yep.
So tell me, Mike, what brings you here today?
Driving around, you know, I see free push mower, so you know, might as well, you know, pick it up.
Wait, what were they?
Free.
Free.
Yep. Some guy came up to me and he goes, "Oh, you want it?" I'm like, "All right." He goes, "Well, give me whatever you want." I gave him $55 for it.
You gave him $55 for it?
Yeah.
It's actually in pretty good shape.
Yeah. The oil was different, like a puke brown kind.
Oh, puke brown. That's nice.
Yeah.
Nice, bro. Actually, that's a 10 horsepower. That's pretty good. And these yard machines, I mean, it's made by MTD, right? But you could tell by the plastic molded chute, right? That it's a more modern model as opposed to the other ones that I've been getting where it's all like metal and stuff. So this is actually pretty recent, you know? It's got this carburetor on it. Oh, actually, it's not a flow jet. It's typical Nicky carb. Wait, you took the carb apart?
Yeah,
because this is it's a complicated carb in there.
Well, we took the bowl off.
Okay, and did that white part come out?
No.
Oh, good, because once that comes out, there's this like maze puzzle-looking gasket. You can almost never get it on there like that. You know what I mean?
Let's go buy new gaskets, and the guy goes, "Yeah, this is a gasket maker." So we made our own gasket.
Oh, that's why it doesn't work. That never works, bro. It's okay. I might have another carb for that, maybe. I'm not sure, but I'm gonna try to get this running for him for free. It's cool.
Yeah.
I like it.
My buddy, he has a big job in Glenhead, and we were gonna rent a chipper, but we'll bring this. We got like one of the little Harbor Freight chippers. We fucking beat the shit out of that. So
Nice.
We got this, so he wants to try
Nice,
to use
bro.
it.
I'll try to get it running for you.
Yeah, little tiny dirt and particles and everything coming out.
You drain the gas in the gas tank?
Yeah.
Cool.
So
You don't usually work on stuff, so I'm pretty surprised that you drain the gas. Oh, do that again.
there's a piece of wood in here.
Oh, you think? Because
My buddy shoved a piece of wood in there.
oh, okay, then that's fine. Because if it was like the flails, then I'd have to take the whole thing apart. That's the most it'll do.
What else do?
It's never gone.
Put some carb cleaner in there, starter fluid, runs and it dies.
Oh, yeah, it's your carburetor, man. Especially if you made that gasket yourself. Yeah, that's never gonna work. All right, I'll look at it for you, bro. Just when I started to finish projects, Mike brings me more stuff to work on. Just shot a little bit of carb spray in here. Let's see if it starts. Maybe there's something wrong with the primer circuit, right? Maybe just the carb needs to be cleaned out. When it cools back down again, and we can do another cold start on it and see if that works. As for this one, I was concerned that maybe I wouldn't have a carburetor for it. But if you look at the carburetor, it is a Nicky carb, but it doesn't look exactly like the lawn tractor ones, you know? But I think if we just maybe cleared it out or something like that, cleaned it, get the gasket right or something, it might work. I think it may start, is what Mike said. Let's just spray some Go-Go in here. Put the choke back on. Give it a pull. Yeah, there's something hinky about the carburetor. It does turn over, right? But very, very little bit, you know? From the amount of fluid that I shove in there, I'm surprised it doesn't ignite fully. You know what I mean? But we'll work on this in the future, sometime soon. And this one we'll figure out whether or not the primer circuit is bad. But in the meantime, let's go put an engine on there. I want to pump up the tires first. They're all down. All four tires are flat. I'm going to pump them all up so that, you know, tomorrow I can wake up and see which one holds air and which ones need ATF in it, you know? And if it's a slow leak, we can put ATF in it. But if one of these tires go down in like 15 minutes or something, then you know it's a worse leak than a slow leak. And you'll probably have to do more shit to it. Let's take the hood off. And actually, the stock engine on this was an 18.5. And we're going to put a Kohler 19 on there. The cover says 19, but in reality it's a 20 because I used the 20 cover to put on the Toro because the Toro stock one was 20. 19, 18, 20, it's all the same. It's all about the same. I'll wipe this down a little bit. Not that it matters because we're putting an engine on it, but it just makes me feel better. So as you see, I cleaned it up a little bit. Oh! I'm going to put this over here for a second and put it on its backside over here because I want to inspect the block to make sure there's no cracks and stuff in places, because there's got to be a reason why the owner said the engine was blown, because we do feel compression when we turn the flywheel. Maybe the synchro balancer is bad or something like that. We haven't ascertained the reason behind that. So I'm just going to look it over real quick and see if we find any holes or cracks. So I'm just looking it over through here, okay? And as you can see, what are we missing? That's right, we're missing a starter. I actually have another starter. Are you surprised? And then I looked right there. What do you guys see there? I can even feel the ridge. There's a crack along the block right here. And it stops right around there. Can you guys see that on camera? Sort of? Right there. It's a hairline crack. But what else don't you see? That's right, you don't see oil. So if that crack may be a casting mark, it's a crack, okay? But I don't think the crack is bad enough that it seeps any oil through it, you know? Maybe. So I don't see any tremendous damage to it, you know, other than that hairline crack. And of course we're missing, that's right, we're missing a muffler. Well, you know how hard it was for me to fabricate a muffler for my Toro Kohler. I don't have another muffler for sure, you know? So we'll have to see what happens with that. Anyway, I'm gonna get some engine mounting bolts and mount it, and then we're gonna put a starter on here. Try to connect as much as we can. See if we can get it started. In the meantime, the battery on there came with the tractor. I have no idea if it works or not. I'm gonna put a charger to it while we're mounting the engine. Found these 4 engine mounting bolts. They're kind of short, but I mean, there's not a whole lot of room under there, so it ought to be fine. So far, so good on the tires. Gotta find that starter. Because this probably was a Briggs engine on here, I gotta find the corresponding holes that would fit the Kohler, because they're different patterns. And then you make sure that the crankshaft is centered in the hole. which it is. So I'm just going to try to mount the 4 bolts in there and take it from there. So I've got the engine mounted very well. I got all 3 bolts in there easily with my impact. However, the 4th bolt right here is very difficult to get in there because it has 2 layers of the frame. Metal piece on the bottom. Actually, the steering, the drag link thingamajig is in the way. No matter how you move it, you can't get it in there. That's why they have a hole here. This hole, you can kind of fish it in there and use a wrench on the inside and do that. Very, very hard to get that 4th bolt in there. So until I know this engine works, I'm not going to go through the trouble of doing that. If this engine works and runs great, then I'll try to fish in that bolt. But if this engine's DONESKI, there's no point on going through that trouble, right? I got this, I went to the back and I found this muffler. As you can see, the way the orientation is, it actually has 2 studs that stick out. And you put nuts on them. It's not like your regular muffler bolts. So as you can see from the orientation, this would probably work if this tractor didn't have this front end. There are some tractors that don't have this. You know, the engine just overhangs a lip of the frame. Well, this is a Craftsman. Craftsmans have this part here. And you have to have this part because this part here holds the hood on. So this muffler is not going to fit under there, see? No matter how much you do it, because it's off by 2 inches or so because of the frame. So I'll have to figure out how to do this. You know, I might have to do some weldage, but we'll worry about that later when we figure out if this engine works. In the meantime, I'm going to install a starter, because you need a starter for us to test this thing, right? So there's the cover. I'm going to look this over a little bit, make sure everything's copacetic, and then I'm going to find 2 nuts and the starter to put in there. Fortunately for me, I actually have another starter. It's off of another Kohler Courage that Nick from Bellport gave me. Huh. I wonder why it does not fit. Why doesn't it fit? That's strange. It's very snug. Is wire in the way? Okay, now it's in there. Now I'm going to attach the starter wire to the bottom. This machine does have 3rd tank of gas in it. Kohler and Briggs sometimes have the same modules on the harness, and it looks like it plugs right in. And usually they wire it the same way, you know. So I just connected the harness, the starter wire to the starter, installed the starter. This wire over here is for the lights. We're not anywhere close to that yet. And I'm just gonna see if I can turn the key. Huh. There is no key. I gotta go find a key. Got an extra key. Battery's still charging. Going to install the throttle cable now. Put the throttle all the way down so that it fully extends. Weasel this Z-bend into the hole. Go through here. Make sure that when you pull it all the way, it's choking. Tighten this with the Torx, and then you're good to go. I'm going to tighten that in a second. Here we have the fuel line that's tucked in here. We have a fuel filter in here. I'm going to take this off. I'm going to attach it to this fuel line to the carburetor. As you can see, fuel comes out. And the fuel is clear, even though it's probably yucky, old gas, but we're just going to test. So now we have the fuel lines connected to the carburetor. And tighten this so we can get the throttle worked out. Using a Torx wrench to tighten this nut here. I lost my other one while doing the fixing my car. It's in the engine compartment somewhere, so I don't have the right one. But looks like it's good enough to hold. Right here is full throttle, then choke, off choke, idle, idle, full throttle, choke. This is a breather. I'm just gonna let this hang like that. I'll just shove it down there. Actually, that might get in the way of the linkage. No, it won't. It might. You know, I'm just gonna let this hang like that. The dipstick back in here. Good news is it doesn't appear to be leaking, because Kohler, Courage, and Command carburetors are infamous for leaking. And we have fuel connected, and I do not feel... Oh, you know what? It has a fuel solenoid on it, which means no matter what, we're not going to get this to start because the valve is not connected. So I might have to remove the fuel solenoid and cut the valve tip, because this harness does not have a fuel solenoid wire, or one that's actually, you know what, it's connected. So either way, we'll take this air cleaner off, and once we get the starter engaged and moving and we try to start this thing, we could put some ooh, that's a nice filter. Look at that filter. Really nice. Really good condition. So there you go. Now we can check. We can test the choke. Full choke. Off choke. Linkage seems to work good. I'm sorry, work well. Okay, we got the engine mounted, starter installed, wiring harness attached, starter wire connected to the starter. We got the throttle cable connected, fuel is going to the carburetor. The battery's on a charger, it does have gas, it's not leaking. We found a key. Here we go, I'm stepping on the brake. Nothing, not even a click. I can hear the fuel solenoid. I can hear the fuel solenoid clicking on the carburetor. So that seems to be working. But the starter solenoid is not working. let's test the starter, huh? Let me go get a jumper pack. Okay, I've got my jumper pack over here. I'm going to attach this to ground. I'm going to turn the switch for the jumper pack. Let's see if it cranks. Ooh, cranks. Compression stroke. Get it over. That's pretty tight. Yeah. Try it again. This doesn't seem to be retracting. The starter is not retracting. I just removed the starter. The starter was seized on the top here. The Bendix gear was in the extended position and it would not retract. So I took a hammer and I just tapped this and went back down. So you can see the shaft is very rusted. I'm using some penetrating oil from my friends over at Lucas Oil Products. I'm going to spray some down the shaft and oil it up. Pretty tight. That's what she said. Let's try that again. That sometimes might be the issue, but probably not. I have a feeling the solenoid's busted. Ignition switch seems to work. For some reason, it doesn't seem like it's gripping now. That's really tight. That's what she said. Gonna remove the spark plug, just so we can see if it all turns better without compression. Theoretically, it should. Remove the spark plug, there's nothing holding it. Come on, man. See if it turns better now. That starter doesn't seem to be very strong. Either that or my jumper pack's not very strong. Then there's the solenoid down there. I'm going to touch the two nuts together. there's enough power to generate the turn on the starter. I have a feeling the starter might be bad. So I've disconnected the white trigger wire going to the trigger tab on the solenoid. Got the other side of my wire on my jumper pack positive. So I'm gonna send a signal from my jumper pack straight to the solenoid and see if the solenoid works. While the starter doesn't seem like it's gripping, you know what I mean? It does, the solenoid is working, but I think the safety switch is messed up. So we might have to do a bypass. But either way, I don't think the starter is working. It's a shame because I just sold a starter. And that's what I get. Took the starter off. Just gonna crank it. Oh, I see. Gotta ground this. Strange. Should be grounded. Okay, that's grounded right there. Why that doesn't work? Got the jumper pack directly on it. Seems to be fine, actually. The starter, maybe it's just that the this is too hard to turn. That could be the case because it is really hard to turn even without a spark plug in it. Well, actually now it's easy. As you can hear, it's compression. Where's that noise coming from? Oh, noise is coming out of this breather. Compression noise. Seems to be working now. Weird. I just checked for spark and there was no spark. Disconnected the wire from the magneto. See if there's spark now. Plenty of spark. So the safety switch is on, which means we have to do a bypass later, but it looks like it's getting spark if you remove it from here. So let's put the spark plug back in again. So it's just troubleshooting, you know. It seems like the solenoid works and the ignition switch works because it works when we turn the key to the second or third notch, which makes the fuel solenoid click. So it is getting current to that circuit. I think it's one of the safety switches are bad as usual, not allowing us to get spark or being able to crank it right now from the ignition switch. So now we just put the spark plug back in again. Let's see if it's strong enough to turn it now. It should be. It's very tight, as you can see. very tight. So maybe the compression release is bad, or we don't have enough power in the battery to crank it, you know. So I'm gonna let the battery charge overnight, and we'll see what happens. So there you go. We started another lawn tractor project. This is actually an LT2000 that I got from my friend Brian. Put the engine on that Nick from Bellport gave me. Got a visit from Mike from Mike's Lawn Service Babylon and his friend Andre. Bring me over a couple of things to fix for him. We'll work on those first after this episode because he needs the chipper. I don't think it'll be that difficult to get that started. I think it's just got to work out something in the carburetor is all. And looks like the starter seems to work now. It just, we don't have enough juice for this to turn. It's too tight to turn, which means that maybe the compression release lever is busted, which is very difficult to start, you know, or it could be the valves too. But we won't know unless we take it apart, unfortunately. So we're going to try a strong battery tomorrow to see if this turns. I think that one of the safety switches are busted on here, which is not allowing the ignition switch to send a signal to the solenoid. We tested the solenoid with a live wire to the trigger tab on the solenoid, and it does turn the starter. So I think the solenoid is good. Ignition switch is good. I think the starter's good. We just don't have enough juice, and the safety switch is definitely DONESKI. So I think what we have to do is bypass the safety switches as I normally do. And we may have to take this engine apart to see why it's so hard. You know, we could do the valve lash to make it easier to start. Maybe it's too loose or whatever, we don't know. But it's 5 and 7 1/1000ths on the intake and exhaust for the valves. We can try that too. But yeah, that's a little piece of it right there, actually a big piece of it. Mounting the engine, starter, testing all the switches and the solenoid and all that. And we do get spark when this is not plugged on. So the reason behind that is the safety switches, always. So we'll see what we go next, but next episode will be the chipper. Gotta get that chipper ready for my friend Mike. Thanks a lot for joining me on today's LT2000 project start. And you know what? This has been sitting here for an hour now. It has cooled down. As you can see, the choke is closed automatically by itself because the muffler is cool. Let's see if this just starts. Looks like it may just need a carb clean because the primer circuit takes 2 or 3 pulls to start. Could also be the valves, you know what I mean? But it starts after 2 or 3 pulls. Or it was this thing. This little stopper tab was all the way inside, which means it didn't give you enough pull rope to pull start it. That might be the reason why it was so difficult to start. When Mike put this thing back to where it's supposed to be, right? Now you have enough rope to give it enough revolutions, to give it enough spark for it to ignite and combust and start. It could have been just as simple as that. That's it. Maybe. But anyway, Thanks a lot for joining me on today's episode. We'll see you guys next time on Mowers and Blowers.
See you guys next time on Mowers and Blowers.
Hey, if you guys enjoyed the video, remember to give me a like. Also, comment below. Subscribe. Remember, it doesn't cost anything to subscribe. It's free, right? Also, hit that little bell. That way you'll get post notifications whenever there's a new video and you won't miss out on any of them. Remember to follow my Instagram and Facebook, as well as if you'd like to donate $1 or $2, paypal.me/mowers and blowers. Really appreciate all the support. Also, to keep the videos coming every day, support the channel. Bye.